We got it. Secret famous. Secret famous. Secret famous. Secret famous. With Paul Maddison.
Oh, dang. Oh, dang. Oh, dang. There we go. It always takes 1 second for me to just adjust in that. Happy June, babies. I'm sure everybody's doing fucking rad. I'm coming from Post Yoga Glow. Post Yoga Glow only exists if you already shred at yoga, and I'm the shittiest yogi in the most intense class I can find on the local level. So I've been fucking obsessed with yoga. Got my yoga phase going on right now. I'm like the one middle-aged dude around a bunch of fucking shredder yoga motherfuckers getting just absolutely decimated, sweating all over the mat. I'm like, it's gotta have been 45 minutes. Look down, it's like 12 minutes. Shirt soaked, crushed. I have no hip flexibility. I'm into it. I'm obsessed with it. Like this past fall, I was getting some soreness in my shoulder from playing so much guitar. And then I called Rick Molina. He's on an earlier podcast, right? He's like a guru, a father. He's like, well, number one, start doing yoga. So, 6 months later, I was like, all right, Rick, I'll do some yoga. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. So all you young Feyer fans, i.e. Carl, the crew, the squad, Melissa, the DJ, take care of your bodies. You guys do, though. I just housed myself. So, it feels good. Oh, no, I actually feel horrible. I got totally just decimated, shredded. I'm going to too many. I'm probably overworked. I should take a break. That's what's going on. And I see it fair. Andrew, it's going to be good. This is a good one. We're going to kick this off with his new track, Parties. That's not actually how it goes. That's the espresso and tonic kicking me off. So do some yoga. Oh my God. Oh, do some yogs. Listen to this. Do you do personal yoga? That's my new thing. I'm like, if I'm going to get any good at this, like guitar, piano, vocals, you got to just be alone with it and like suck. You have to pay to the suck gods for a while. Like every time I pick up the guitar, I'm like, oh, I got to learn how to do this again. Paying to the suck gods. And any production thing. Think of Andrew, how much time this cat must spend. Anyway, Feyer, amazing singer, amazing songwriter. I met him when he was like a senior in high school. And you know who's going to be successful and you know who's not. And you meet them and you're like, yeah, he's going to, this is it. This is the future of music right here. Just like Kyle Duke. He's on a previous episode. He's friends with the Dukes, Duke to God. And what can I say? He's a knowledgeable, smart, cool, interested, and interesting human. And there's motherfuckers who are not, who are also young cats. Like ordering my tonic, and the cat was like, oh, I don't even know what tonic is. I was like, motherfucker, you work here. Maybe you should know what that is. Like when I'm loading into these wedding venues and cats are explaining, like, you need to know what it is you're serving. Pork is pig. Does it have pork in it? Listen, stoner, put the vape pen down and check some of this shit out. If you work at motherfucking Kinship Coffee, it's getting coffee. Like a real New Yorker, you get all pissed off. You're like, oh man, what kind of tonic is it? Oh, I've never had tonic. I don't give a fuck if you've never had tonic. Whoa. Put that gun away, Paulie. Put the gun away. This track is going to be Parties. Andrew's hilarious. And he hurt his body. Speaking of taking care of your body, Andrew, that story was fascinating. And it really, you think about how your life catches up with you, you know? I hope you take care of your foot. Hey, listen to this Feyer podcast. It's a good one. Listen to the tracks. Check out his music. I gotta go to a show. It's lame that I haven't been to a show. Andrew Feyer, thanks for coming on. Check this track out. And we're going to close with another track. I hope you're well. Have a kick-ass July. Rock and roll.
It's 9 p.m. on Saturday night. Everybody knows that it's party time. I feel forever 21. I want to partake in the booze-induced get drunk? What if I have too much? Lose all control and hurt myself. Look at everybody raging at the parties. They're drinking and they're taking lots of drugs. Look at everybody scoring at the parties. People left and right are looking up. Look at everybody spending lots of money for a night they won't remember in a month. Look at everybody getting really funky. It's what the young people love. All my friends are living it up, going really hard, filling up their cups. I am young and free too, but making the effort is something I cannot do. They will be going all night, dancing and drinking until they see the sunlight. I want to be involved, but it's too much of a hassle, so maybe I should stay inside. Look at everybody raging at the parties. They're drinking and they're taking lots of drugs. Look at everybody scoring at the parties. People left and right are looking up. Look at everybody spending lots of money for a night they won't remember in a month. Look at everybody getting really funky. It's what the young people love. Just gonna go to bed. I'm tired and I need to clear my head. Maybe in a couple months I'll go out again and live it up. Look at everybody raging at the parties. They're drinking and they're taking lots of drugs. Look at everybody scoring at the parties. People left and right are looking up. Look at everybody spending lots of money for a night they won't remember in a month. Look at everybody getting really funky. It's what the young people love. It's what the young people love. I said it's what the young people love.
Ooh. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. It's Secret Famous with Feyer.
Hello. How's it going, Paul? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being incredibly punctual. It's 7:52. I was like, I'll see you at 8, and no one is on time.
Yeah, I mean, I was coming from Brooklyn. I was working in Brooklyn, and I thought that the train was going to take a lot longer, and it got me in at 7:40. So I was hanging on the street just jamming out to my tunes for a little bit, and then we ran into each other on the street. I saw you on your bike, and you're like, oh, hey.
I came in hot, and I was like, Andrew, don't talk. We need to save this energy for the podcast. Like,
yeah.
This fresh, new energy. Like,
You caught me in the middle of lip syncing a track. So, because that's what I do when I have my headphones on, is I'm just mouthing the words.
you were mauling the words, and getting right into this, you were also doing an air drum fill.
Yeah.
And I was listening to your tracks this morning, and I'm like, all of these drum fills. Like, do you play drums? Like,
I do, but I actually did not drum on the last track I put out. This, I'm going to give a shout out to my drummer, Michael Butenev, who's been playing with me for the past 2 years or so. He laid down drums on these tracks. He lives in Yonkers, and he has a whole drum studio set up in his room with like a 25-piece Neil Peart-style kit. And so...
Are you serious?
He just laid down drums, and in a few takes we got it, and it made it onto the Parties track. It was actually his idea, because originally I just had, like, mini drums, and he's like, trust me, this will sound a whole lot better if I just lay down a couple takes. And I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Did he track the drums last, after you did the whole track, or did you kind of, like... I'm always interested where the drums get put on a track. Like, did you put the drums to a demo, or was it like, we put the drums on last? Or like,
The song was pretty much done, and I showed it to him, and I'm like, what do you think? And he was like, it needs live drums. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, trust me, this is going to sound great. So everything was done. We just put the live drums down, and then we remixed it with the live drums, and then that's where it happened.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
And does he play in the live show, or he's just a buddy from college, or...
I know him from college. He's
Yeah.
like 2 grades below me, but that's where I met him was college. And he's been playing all my live shows since 2017. I made a Facebook status once because I was trying to go on tour. Who do I know who plays drums who'd be willing to go on tour? And he's like, oh, me. And ever since then, it's been a match made in heaven. He's been so great. He's he also has a Roland SPDSX, and I play live to backing tracks, so he triggers the tracks from the Roland, and
Perfect.
as a result, no laptop is needed, which is good because my laptop freezes all the time. I still have a 2012 MacBook Pro,
A 2012 MacBook Pro.
and I also have an iPhone 6.
Yes, Andrew just revealed he's like, I did not want to give up the headphone jack.
No, that's so important to me. I mean, you saw me with my headphones on.
He has cans. He doesn't wear. We had the whole AirPod discussion. You keep the cans on in the street. That's why you didn't see me coming in stealth on my bike with speed. I was like,
Yeah, it's like I'm not really blind to what's going on, but I'm deaf to what's going on.
yeah, no, it's true. Be careful out there.
Yeah.
It's dangerous. So you got live drums on this track, but did you program drums on some of your other tracks, like Stuck in a Video Game?
Yeah, Stuck in a Video Game was programmed. All of my drums on my debut album, Signals Internalized, that was programmed as well. I wanted it to sound as much like a live drum kit as possible, but it was still pretty computerized sounding. And I think that having Michael come in and say, this is what your song could sound like if we laid down some live drums, it really kicked it up a notch in terms of energy.
Yeah, that's awesome. But so you do play drums, though?
I do play drums. I haven't in a while because my cymbals got stolen, so I'm working on getting a new pair of cymbals.
I stole your cymbals.
Well, what happened was I lent them out at a gig once, and the guy never gave them back to me, and I was sort of hyped from the gig myself, so I forgot to ask it back. I get home, and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have my cymbals. So I go back to the venue, and they're not there. So it was sort of...
Did you know what band he was in? Look this motherfucker up, dude. This is bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say on the podcast, but I'll try to get it resolved.
Oh, yeah, that hurts. That hurts my soul
It
when you
might
hear
have been
about
an
like
accidental thing, too. I mean, like...
Like
I don't know.
your hi-hats, your crash,
Yeah.
your ride.
Yeah.
Dude, gear.
No, I don't think it was intentional. I mean,
All right, good,
I do
good,
know the guy
good.
who I lent it to, and he's super nice. And it was sort of like we both sort of forgot about it. And then he walked out of the venue, and I walked out of the venue, and maybe someone in the venue, someone we don't know, strolled in and was like, hey, free cymbals.
Free
and
cymbals,
just
yes.
grabbed them. Yeah. So,
What was the venue?
Mercury Lounge, actually. Yeah.
That stuff, like when I see like, oh, gear stolen, like that, like breaks my soul. Like
Yeah.
my heart is, bro. We get so I'm emotionally attached to all of the instruments I own because if I don't like, if it doesn't immediately respond, like at an emotional level, like I just sell it. I just don't want it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. You don't make nice, so I leave you. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I'm the same way. I mean, I do like a triple, quadruple dummy check before and after all my gigs now to make sure I have everything I need and I'm not forgetting anything.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I still might forget stuff here and there, but it's like little things like cables and whatever, which can be replaced, but sometimes it's the hardest thing to replace.
Well, you're truly outsmarting yourself because you're not leaving dongles anyplace.
Oh, that is very true.
But does your 6 no? This is
Well,
like
it's a 6S.
geeky
so-
old man shit. But do you do the update, or do you? Is that you're like I don't do the update so it like works longer or something, right? Like isn't that the slick old iPhone thing?
Well, I did do the update because there was an app I wanted to download and it just didn't work with the iOS I had.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the update, and then for a while my battery was completely shot, so I had the battery replaced as well, and now it works fine. But I'm not sure I want to update to the latest iOS version because, you know, it's sort of Apple's way of telling you, oh, if you want it to work perfectly, you got to get the newer phone. So who knows?
Yes. So you play drums.
Yeah.
You're clearly a trained singer.
Yeah, I mean, been taking lessons for a while. I took some classical vocal lessons in college, but I've switched more to doing rock and pop stuff.
Yes. Yeah, because like I think when we listen to music. Sorry, I'm literally wiping the sweat off my face because
It's hot today, yeah.
it's hot, and there was 2 city bikers behind me, and I just have to. I feel the need to establish like look, I go first in the lineup here, bro. Like I'm going. Like you're not going to try to pass me because I have extreme speed. Anyway, so I was working hard on the final 38th Street, like kind of final cruise. Anyway, I think right when you immediately like listen to music, you're getting the like emotional information from the track. What is this? What is this about? And then it's like, is this like an aesthetically pleasing sound. And I was saying this, your voice is like, first of all, you have crazy, like a tone that like cuts the mix perfectly, you know what I mean? And then you have great pitch, great melodic ideas, great everything. But to sing like you sing, I was like, oh no, this is a human who has been doing some singing. Like this isn't just like I'm making tracks on the, in my closet or whatever. This is like did you sing always? Like your family does sing-alongs since you were 0,
Well, my mom is, I wouldn't say a trained singer, but she's a very frequent amateur singer because she actually sings as a volunteer in a professional choir. And the choir used to do exclusively classical music, Baroque, romantic kind of stuff. But they got a new director, and now they're switching over to doing more like old school show tunes. But she really enjoys it. So I get a lot of music from her. My dad can sing, but he can't harmonize. Like, as soon as someone starts singing harmony, he switches to the harmony line.
That's like me, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm the only one in the family who's like really had extensive lessons with singing. And my sister probably could sing very well if she took lessons.
Younger or older?
She's younger than me. And she actually has a pretty decent voice if she tried, but she likes to make people laugh when she sings, so she intentionally sings sort of out of rhythm, out of key, because it's funny.
Yeah.
And so, it's sort of a little novelty kind of thing she does. And she makes up songs on the spot, which I think is really funny. She always sings to our dogs, just like, dogs, drink some water, that kind of stuff like that.
Yeah. So she's entertaining the whole family.
Yeah.
It's not you doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm more serious. And
You're the serious guy at home. You're like, here we go. This is my new track, Puggies.
yeah. Yeah, it's like I'm all about the music business.
Business.
Yeah, there's no fun in it. It's all business.
So you get your music kind of from your mom, a little bit the dad. What was your first? What got you? What was like? Did you take piano lessons?
Yeah, I started with piano lessons when I was 6. We had just moved to Scarsdale from the city, and I'm originally from Manhattan, the Upper West Side. But when I was just shy of 6, my family moved up to Scarsdale in Westchester, and my parents enrolled me in piano lessons. And at first I thought, oh, this is cool, I'm learning how to play an instrument. And then once the music that I learned got harder, I was like, oh, God, I don't know if I could do this because, I have to practice. And a lot of little kids don't like to practice. So I continued with it. I stuck with it. I never became a virtuoso on any instruments. But when I was in late elementary school, I saw some of my other friends playing the drums. And I'm like, oh, my God, that is so cool to, like, hit things. So I wanted to take drum lessons. So in addition to piano lessons, I also got drum lessons. And from there, I expanded to teaching myself guitar and bass. And from there, I just started writing songs. My first exposure to music was sort of polar opposites happening at the same time. You had my parents who were trying to introduce me to the classical world, all the standards that they think make kids smart if they listen to them at a very early age.
I'm a child of that as well.
But I also grew up at the time when boy bands were becoming the big thing. Like, I remember one of my earliest memories was being like 3 or 4 years old and having my neighbors blast a Backstreet Boys song and me, newly potty trained, getting out of my bed, supposed to be sleeping. It's like 10 o'clock at night, which is super late for a 3-year-old, and dancing along to, I think it was Larger Than Life by the Backstreet Boys. So I had that cross contamination, so to speak, of classical and pop at the same time. And the worlds didn't really collide, but for my own stuff, I sort of wanted to make them collide by writing stuff that could be embraced by both audiences. It has the intricacies of a classical piece that a lot of people just sort of sit down and academically analyze, as well as the feel-good pop music that you want to listen to when you feel entertained. So
and I hear all that stuff. Yeah. It's intelligent pop.
Yeah.
There's I can tell you thought about every note. You know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah, I mean, it's more so almost like a science than an art sometimes. I sometimes lose the feel and the emotion because I get so into like the technicalities and the intricacies of the actual melody and harmony itself, the piece of music. Even if I'm writing a rock song or a pop song, I might treat it like I'm composing a classical piece. Yeah.
I think that's the perfect training. You had the perfect training.
Yeah, because
piano. Because like if you meet a piano player who hasn't kind of studied drums besides just banging around on their buddy's kit or whatever, because I can just hear it in your programming. It's like, no, he knows drums. Like the fills, I was like this Andrew knows drums, like because they're they're so aggressive. The fills.
Well, the fills I'll actually have to credit to Michael, my drummer, because I made
just even on your other record. I'm saying, like,
oh, you mean like the other stuff? Yeah. No, I mean Parties is where the fills go completely off the rails,
bonkers.
which I
Yeah.
love.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's very aggressive.
Yeah, because
drumming.
Michael's originally a metal drummer, and my stuff is very, very light compared to what he normally does. Like, he plays in a thrash band. He was doing something in a melodic death metal band for a bit. And so to do my stuff, it's like he still wants to keep up the metal energy, but it doesn't really have the same aesthetic.
I just took my Meshuggah shirt off. I'm fully into metal drums.
Yeah, I was actually at a Meshuggah show about a month ago at Hammerstein Ballroom, and that was my first ever show where I'd say the majority of the time I was right in the pit.
You were in the pit at
It
Meshuggah.
was scary for me, but, you know, the whole floor was the pit.
That's a pleasant pit, though.
Yeah.
It's not that mean of a pit, right?
No.
I had 4 tickets that I bought for friends, and an artist I worked with booked a show on that Thursday night, and I said, well, can I leave by 9? I left, and I got to Hammerstein Ballroom when and I met my friends as they were all walking out, and I had a beer with them after the show. So I've seen Meshuggah like 4 or 5 times. Do you think that you reached a state of nirvana taking in a Meshuggah concert?
It was very liberating to me because even though I might not show it on the surface, I can be very anxious at times, and that's oftentimes what I write about. But then there's something about having the environment where you don't have to care about what everyone else is thinking, and you could just let loose, and there's so much energy going on, and there's so much passion and physical heat. Like, it was so hot in there.
Yeah.
It became this environment of, you know, can I curse on this podcast?
Of course.
It's
yeah.
like, fuck it all. Like, who
Fuck it
cares?
all.
Like, let's just have a good time. And I don't get to let loose that often. Being in New York, it's all about you got to work, you got to keep your income up, you got to get a job, this and that. And it's nice to just have that environment once or twice to just say screw it all, go all out, and have a good time, enjoy yourself.
If you see me writing something down, I'm just trying to. I have all these other questions I want to ask you, but like I'll lose them, so I have to. That's all.
Sure.
That's funny that you say that because that exists for me in certain types of music and different bands. But like to me, Meshuggah is just it feels like watching 5 superheroes. Like they're so good at drums, bass, guitar, and then Jen's screaming is like amazing. So I feel I can't like turn the musician part of my brain off for them. I'm just like, is this in 7? Is this in 13? What? How? Like their stamina, like as a guitarist, like how? Like Bleed. I can't play one measure of Bleed, let alone the 5.5 minutes of whatever. Like just 324 BPM. Like what? Like it's like it's I don't know. And then like yeah. Dude, I have no words for Meshuggah. I'm so jealous that I missed that show. I also heard at that show the light show game has upped a whole other level.
Yeah, that's something else I was going to mention is from what I heard from Michael, the guy who works lights for Meshuggah, none of it's or very little of it is programmed. He's actually drumming with his fingers on the lighting board in rhythm, perfect sync with the drummer.
He's the 6th member of Meshuggah, right?
It's absolutely incredible.
Unreal. Wait, do you know him?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I
This
just
is like
know of him or about
on an
him.
interview. I saw you like, yeah. So I'm hanging out with the lightman. I'm like, Andrew, like, call me up, bro. Let's hang. Like,
Forgot to bring him tonight. No, I wish I could say I knew him, but I've just heard from sources that he does the lighting live. Like very little of it's programmed.
Yes,
which is absolutely incredible because their lighting game is perfectly synced to like the millisecond of the kick drum.
yes,
It's unbelievable.
they're also so the show. Maybe 1 or 2 shows ago from the last time they were in New York. This is the only band. Jens, the singer, came out, sang 20 minutes with them, and said, well, everybody, I'm sorry. I am very sick. I'm not trying to... I'm just saying it was so funny because he came out like sang his ass off. And then after 20 minutes said, I'm really sick. I have to go. So one of the tech dudes came up, sang fucking New Millennium Cyanide Christ.
Wow.
Which he sounded like Jens. I was like, what the fuck? And then the band played for 40 minutes without the singer, and no one left. Like we were just still like they were just crushing it. What band on earth could come on stage and lose the singer and then hold the crowd? You know what I
it's
mean?
incredible. I mean, when Metallica, with James Hetfield, burned both his arms in 1992, I'm sure you know that story. He stepped into a flame. One of he could sing still, but he couldn't play guitar for the rest of the tour. So one of the roadies filled in on rhythm guitar, and James Hetfield, I'll never forget this quote: "If you're a roadie for the band, learn the band's songs, because you never know when you're going to get pulled on stage and have to play them."
You're the next in line.
Yeah.
That's so true. That's great.
Yeah, even if you're going to a concert, make sure you know all the notes, all the words, because I've seen Green Day do this, Avenged Sevenfold does this, for one or two songs, they'll pull select fans on stage and be like, okay, you get to play, let's see how you do.
And Green Day doesn't just do it for, like, you know, When I Come Around. They do it for Jesus of Suburbia, the 9-minute song. Have you seen this?
Yeah, no, I mean, bands
I was listening.
with fan bases like that, they know every single word, every single note.
You picked that would be like if Queen were still touring and Brian May was just like, someone come play Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it's not as technically challenging as that, but it was still like the anthem, the monster. I was just like, what? Anyway, let's go back. We're getting off track. Our fandom is coming out. Clearly, we're both big lovers of music. You've mentioned it a couple times now, and I'm fascinated. So my mother, absolutely, 80s, always played classical music in the house. And I started classical guitar I went into, like, I call it my dark period, where I was just, I was done with rock, and I was just only doing classical. So you've mentioned it a couple times. Your father exposed you to classical, and then were you studying, like, classical composition at Bard, or?
Yeah, I went to Bard. I'm not sure if we mentioned that. Yeah, I went to Bard College in upstate New York, and I originally applied to the conservatory because when I was in my senior year of high school, I thought that that's what colleges wanted, was for you, if you're a musician, to do one thing, be a classical composer, and apply to a bunch of conservatories. Only in the process to realize that conservatories really weren't for me. So when I got to Bard, I was mostly composing classical because that's what I thought they wanted. But I actually wound up doing the regular music program, not in a conservatory. And from there was able to do a couple of different things and combine it all into just a general music major. So while I was there, I did a little bit of jazz. I did a lot of experimental. They really pride themselves on experimental electronic there.
Who's the guy there?
Well, they have a couple, but some well-known ones would be like Richard Teitelbaum. I don't know if you know him, but he's worked with Stockhausen and Cage and people like that.
Yeah.
So he's really into...
Is he like in his 80s or something?
Yeah, and he's really into like old modular synthesizers and things like that.
Did you get to take a couple classes with him?
Yeah, I did. There was no homework. Basically, it was just like, let's listen to these pieces.
And did he pontificate in just an absolutely
he would just nap.
beautiful way? Or?
He would take a nap, and we sort of would too. Because, it's difficult to teach things like that. Sometimes all you could do is listen and analyze in your brain. Because if I hear pieces like that, sometimes I'm at a loss for words for how to articulate how it feels.
Who's the other super heavy classical composer cat at Bard? Isn't there?
Well, there's Joan Tower, who's she's a Grammy winner, actually. She's they brand her as like a Grammy award-winning female composer at Bard. And she's really into not so much the electronic stuff, but contemporary classical, sort of, doesn't have to be atonal, but multitonal kind of stuff. And I did a class with her, and it really shaped, I'd say, some of my own compositions that I do now, because it really made me think differently about where can music go. Let's try this chord progression, even though it doesn't, in terms of music theory, make sense. Let's go for it anyway and see what it sounds like. So I'm mixing modes. I'm doing all this stuff.
Did you love that stuff? Did it excite you?
Well, to be honest, I really wanted to do something that was definitely tonal, and I'm not really into the atonal kind of music, but it was exciting to learn that you didn't have to follow a traditional chord progression to make a pop song or a rock song. You could mix around, change keys, there's that dreaded tritone that classical musicians hate so much, but, why not make a chord progression that's built off that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where some of my influences came from.
No, that's great. And so you said what is the regular music program as opposed to the conservatory? They can't cross-pollinate, or it just means jazz or pop music, or what? What is? I didn't understand.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Bard is the regular conservatory, I guess like most
Is it all
conservatories.
just classical symphonic players?
It's
and
all classical
maybe
symphonic players.
ed majors or something? Music ed?
Not music ed, actually. It's all symphony players. In fact, we don't even have an undergraduate conservatory vocal program. We have a master's in music for vocals, but for voice, like opera and choral singing and things like that. But if you want to be in the conservatory at Bard, it's really just orchestral players. And they require you to do a dual degree because they stress how important the liberal arts education is. So if you get into the conservatory, it's mandatory that you double major in something outside of music. Whereas I just wanted to do music and only be there for 4 years as well. And they have the classical composition thing, but that's the thing, is it's just classical if you get into the conservatory.
So that's what you started out in.
No, I didn't start out in the conservatory.
Okay.
I was applying to a bunch of conservatories in high school in the hopes at the time that I could be just a classical composer. But as soon as I got to college, I got into the regular music program, but not the conservatory. And I just felt like the conservatory is probably not for me because it's so one lane. I want to try my hand at all these different things in music and then hopefully put it together to do my own thing, which is what I did. So my senior project, everyone has to do a senior project at Bard, whether it be a concert or a, for other majors, dissertation or things like that. And mine was showing what I was able to learn, not just with composition, but also production, performance, arranging, audio engineering. I did all that when I was in school.
Literally all the things you do in your own project
Yeah,
right now.
and I wanted to put it all together, and I could in the regular music program as opposed to the conservatory.
That's so rad.
Yeah.
I similarly, when I transferred out of my dark period, the classical guitar period, I would have had to been a freshman in the jazz program at SUNY Purchase, but I got into the studio composition as a junior. And exactly, I was like, oh, wait a second. I can just check out a little jazz and I can write my own tunes and learn about production. Like, wait, this is a win-win. I'm technically winning right now. That's cool. I think back to being exposed to all that atonal stuff and all the classical stuff enlightens pieces of your music in a sense, because I think I'm envious of super jazz trained musicians, right? We live in New York. We're surrounded by, what is there? Easily 20,000 like post jazz school humans out there, right?
Oh, sure.
And you're like, you are the shreddingest saxophonist or trumpetist ever. And they have incredible like language and vocabulary, but I'm as I age starting to appreciate that. I think classical gives you this different kind of appreciation of aesthetic, dynamics, harmony, being weird, being original. That sounds counterintuitive, but like there's so much like you get in this track, whether it is a classical player or a jazz, and you're like, wait a second. We're here to do our own thing. You know what I mean? And you're clearly doing your own thing,
Yeah, that's the thing is we live in an age where, of course, the biggest thing right now for getting new music out is streaming. Spotify is dominating the market, and a lot of people are writing music basically just to get very well playlisted. And don't get me wrong, I'd love to be featured on many playlists. And
have you been playlisted?
I have been playlisted on. I know that's a very important question in this day and age.
Because I heard your
playlisted?
track. I heard Stuck in a Video Game, which maybe we should close this podcast with.
Ooh, that'd be a good idea. Yeah,
I think that's a great. Which we got to get into your lyrics yet, but
yeah. But the hard thing about having Spotify dominate the industry is, as a result, a lot of people just write music thinking, okay, what playlist would this fit on? What else does it sound like? How can I figure out what a popular playlist is, what's popular on there, and try to write for making it onto this playlist? And I feel like it's not in me to write like that. I just sort of get into my own thing of like creating my own sound, breaking down the rules of like, okay, sure, like these are the rules of writing an alternative rock song, but like why do you have to follow them? And as a result, my stuff, a lot of people don't really know where to put it, especially in the playlist game. Like a lot of people are thinking, oh, it has a bit of this, but it's too much of this other thing for our playlist. I found that out when I was doing a lot of submissions. A lot of people are saying it's rock, but it has too many electronics, or it has electronics, but there's too much of a rock vibe. And it's like, and then your vocals are like neither. So like, I don't know where to put it. So we're going to have to pass.
I think this is truly a compliment then, because I lived this life. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know this. And maybe right around when I was your age in my 20s, right, I was doing like a comedic meets show, like this whole sort of thing, and people were like, well, I don't know where the fuck is it a comedy? Is it musical theater? Is it just a jam band? Are you like, by default, this is like pre-streaming kind of being the whole thing. We just got monkeyed into the jam band world because it was like, oh, weird shit happens there. You know what I mean? Like, so I understand. And I read that, did you read the Billie Eilish Billboard magazine article?
I haven't. I know she's been blowing up, and I'm like, I can't look at her and not feel jealous that she's like dominating at the age of 17. And I'm 25, and I've been doing this for like maybe, since I was 17, seriously. And, she is catapulted to the top. But I got to give her credit because she does write a lot of her own songs, and she's doing something truly different. I mean, if we want to talk about people who don't fit the mold, you have Billie Eilish. But tell me about her Billboard article.
Well, you just basically summarized it because they, the muscle, the machinery of the music industry, she's on a major label, and they would create the tracks very specifically to get in different playlists. So they wanted to dominate every playlist, which gave her this, octopus reaching its tentacles all the way in. Now she's, so like you literally to me just described the business model behind her. But you said like, yeah, that's not me. So it's okay. You're doing you. People will hear your music.
Yeah.
Do you know Ninja Sex Party?
Ninja Sex. I've never heard of that. Is that a local band? Are they in New York? What is that? Or is that a show? What is that?
It's the closest concept I could think of your music. I was recently hip to them. I think they originally started off as like internet YouTube personalities doing like, I don't know, but the music is similar where it's like rocky video game theatrical, like singing, but like rock guitar, but like maybe EDM beats or something like that. And then their lyrics are probably more leaning toward like comedy and absurdness because I feel like you have this like introspective anxiety, questions on life kind of thing. You know?
Yeah.
But there's humor in yours thing.
Yeah. I mean, I want to show
it's fun. It's feel good, like you said. But you're not like,
Yeah, I mean, I'll write a couple of like really serious downer songs here and there because my grandma was saying, like, you have to have a ballad in your show. Take it down, slow it down so the audience could be drawn in. So I have a new song I've written that's, it still has my lyrical cliches, I guess you could say, but it is
this
more...
an unreleased track?
It's an unreleased track that I'm not going to get too much into because I still need to finish writing it.
Yeah.
But I've played it a couple times. But
it's in the live show.
Yeah, it is in the live show. And my music, I want it to have the sense of depth that it has comedic elements, but it also has serious elements at the same time.
Highbrow meets lowbrow. Yeah, the ultimate.
Yeah, I love combining things and bringing things in the middle. Where like watching a show where it has comedic elements, but it also has dramatic elements. You could either classify it as a comedy or a drama, or just right in the middle, the perfect balance. I think a good example is. I know you're a teen in the 90s, so you probably remember the show Hey Arnold, which I'm a huge fan of. But that's like right in the middle of like, is it funny? Yeah, but is it like also really serious?
And heavy. Yeah.
So like, let's put it together and make this brilliant show. And it's not like a lot of the Nickelodeon shows now, which are like ridiculously silly and there's no real serious moments. And then a lot of the shows that are, more on these adult networks that have no real comedic elements and are all just like serious drama. I wanted to meet right in the middle and find something that hopefully will appeal to both audiences and not, as sometimes the playlisters go, oh, it's not enough of this, it's not enough of that. So it's either or. You either bring people together with it or you draw people away because it's either the right amount or it's too much or it's not enough.
So tell me how Stuck in a Video Game got playlisted, or just about that process and about the song. And I'm not trying to. get you to tell me your business. Like, just, I think it's if you're saying what genre do I fit in? Where the fuck am I? Where am I going? But yet, maybe you found it with one track, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, with Stuck in a Video Game, it sort of arose because when I was playing my debut album for a lot of people, this wasn't the intention, but a lot of them said, oh, your music would be perfect in a video game soundtrack. And so I started writing this new song, and I was saying to one of my friends, like, I have no idea what to do for the lyrics. This is like the first time I'm really stumped on the lyrics. I have the melody, I have the production, but no words. I played it for him, and he was like, this sounds like a lot of your other stuff, video game music. And then I thought, why not just be as on the nose as possible? Why not just write a song about being in a video game? And that's how Stuck in a Video Game came to be. And as a result, it was more specific, it was more niche, and I was able to have it find... It found room for itself on some of these more 8-bit video game-oriented playlists.
Yeah.
So that's how that happened.
That's how that happened. Mm-hmm. Do you have a music video for this track?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's actually my first animated music video. I partnered with an animator who lives in Connecticut, and he was able to animate me physically being sucked into a TV screen, and then me as an 8-bit animated character is fighting all of these different levels. And there's some old school game references in there, like I go Super Saiyan at one point, Dragon Ball Z. There's this one where, I forget what this video game is, but I'm jumping on a bunch of lily pads. It might just be called Lily Pad Jump, but there's that. And if you are interested in checking out the music video, it's right on my YouTube. Just search Feyer Stuck in a Video Game, and it's there.
There we go. Well, look who needs to do more homework. That's me. I got to check it out.
Yeah.
And when did that record/song come out? How old is that now?
That song came out the last day of November 2018.
So that's super recent.
Yeah,
so you're like putting it pedal to the metal right now.
I was planning on releasing it earlier, but I wanted a little bit more promotion time. But then I thought, like, should I extend it and just release it in 2019? But then I thought, I don't really have a release in 2018. I got to put something out. So I put out Stuck in a Video Game right after Thanksgiving. And, yeah, it was pretty well received.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And do you think, when did the record come out then?
The record? I mean, it was just a single.
Like the album. The
debut album? Oh, yeah, that was February 2017 was the first release, yeah.
And do you think you're going to do records or just singles from now on?
At the moment, I'm more of a singles kind of guy. I think that it's much easier to promote a single, and it's much easier to... it's just much easier all around because you don't have to spend as much time promoting it. I mean, it's sort of one thing that stands on its own. You could do a lot with it. You have one single. With that, you could create a music video. You could create a remix. You could create a lyric video. All this stuff that you can't necessarily do with an album. Because naturally, when you put out a full-length album, there's going to be tracks that get lost. And then they just become album cuts. Sometimes hardly anyone hears it. With singles, you spend a lot of time working on that one thing. You put it out. You're able to promote it much more easily. Mm-hmm. So I'm in a singles mode right now.
You're in a singles
just
phase,
put out parties. Plan on releasing another song maybe later in the summer or sometime in the fall. But what I really want to do is start co-writing and collaborating with a lot more people.
Mm-hmm. But you do that already, right? Like
I do.
You remix and produce and...
Yeah, I do have a remix project, actually, that is getting off the ground. It's something that's pretty separate from Feyer, and it's called Draniads. And it's a word that doesn't really exist, but it's a drunken anagram of the word androids. I was drunk one night, as people tend to get.
Androids? Yeah, say it again.
I was drunk one night, as people tend to get, and I thought back to my old drum lesson days, and I had this really hilarious drum teacher named Glenn, and he would always call me Android because my name's Andrew, and he thought it was funny. And then I thought, one night, what if I developed a remix project totally unrelated to Feyer, or somewhat related to Feyer, but it's a different project, and I called it Androids. And then I thought, I don't know if I could do that because the Android phone company, they might take legal action against me. And then I thought, anagrams are pretty cool. Let's see if I could create a new word. So had a couple beers, and I just sat down with a pen and paper rewriting the letters to androids as many times as possible until I found something that stuck. And Draniads is what stuck. And since then, I've been coming out with a couple remixes. I remixed my friends Carl and Thomas, who I know you know.
Yes.
Carl Olner, he plays guitar with me sometimes, and he has his own project with his sister, and he's also doing work with My friend Thomas, who you also know, Thomas has actually been working lights for me at shows recently, but he has a DJ project out right now called DJ Barrage, and I remixed one of their tracks, and the remix just came out, and I'm finding a voice as a remixer as well as a producer and a singer and a songwriter.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so rad. Mm-hmm. I have to hear all of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, with Draniads, if you search that word, DRANIODS, nothing really else will come up because it's a word that doesn't exist. It's an anagram. It's a made-up word.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what'll come up. Feyer is a little harder because there's actually a Ford car dealership down in South Carolina called Feyer Ford. So if you search Feyer, sometimes you'll get the car
You're
dealership.
battling for them. Yeah.
But, or you get the pianist George Feyer, who was like a Hungarian light music classical pianist in the 1900s. But if you find Draniads, that's like really easy to find.
Oh, that's so cool. You have so much going on.
Yeah, trying to stay busy.
Are you just doing music full time?
No, I do a lot of audio engineering as well. I work at a podcast studio in Brooklyn. I actually just came from that today.
Say what? You're
Yeah.
in a podcast and you work at a podcast studio.
Yeah, I know. It's
How's that? Tell me Tell me what the real podcast world is like. You know, I'm just like I'm just doing my own thing. You know.
Yeah, I mean, podcasting is such a huge industry now because so many people want to get information and they don't necessarily want to read. You know what I mean? Reading takes a lot of work. So
And they don't want to read.
yeah,
That's so funny.
reading takes a lot of work. So as a result, almost every big news source like New York Times, Daily News, whatever,
all have podcasts
they all
now,
have
yeah.
podcasts. And I work at a studio now occasionally in Brooklyn that doesn't necessarily have like a dedicated podcast, but rather it's a studio that offers a space to record podcasts. So
Fascinating.
you have big deal podcasts coming in there. But then if you're like, you know, just starting out, you just want to get a podcast going for shits and giggles, you don't even know what it's going to be about, you can go in there. I always record this one podcast once a month called What's This Podcast About Again? And it's these three guys who start off talking about one thing and then they just completely forget what they're talking about and go off the rails. And they do that for 2 hours and it's the charm. It becomes about nothing and about
Yeah.
everything at the same time.
It's so beautiful. And they're hilarious dudes or just entertaining guys?
Yeah,
or,
they're
like,
entertaining guys.
Fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, generally the theme is sports and music, but
Yeah.
after a while sometimes they start arguing with each other and it's just hilarious. They all talk over each other and I don't really have to worry about it because I don't have to edit the podcast, so it's just one
Are they,
continuous
like-
recording.
Are they news or media personalities or are they just like working dudes?
They're just like three guys.
That's
Three guys who want to be
hilarious.
on the mic. And yeah. As we all do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And in addition to, I said I do audio engineering, I do some audio book work, like children's books, recording and editing those. I do some live engineering. I'm actually an engineer now for So Far Sounds. Are you familiar with So Far? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do sound engineering for them. And
Do you make more than $100? Because obviously the internet got super pissed last week or 2 weeks ago. It's like this multi-million-dollar industry. You work for them, so you don't want to speak out of school. I understand.
I make $100 per show. I really do think it's a good model because regardless, you're guaranteed to get paid. Like if you play, you're guaranteed to get the $100 and you're guaranteed to play in front of a packed house full of eager music listeners who are willing to check out new music. You don't have to worry at all about like, oh God, I have to draw people and I have to pre-sell tickets and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's a good model.
How much is a ticket for a fan?
Generally, some cities, like a lot of the smaller cities, I think shows are free or like suggested donation or tips. In New York, as far as I know, shows are between $15 and $20.
Well, everything is expensive in New York.
Yeah, but
I mean,
every
you walk
show-
down the street and $20 is just coming out of your pocket.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I mean, every show I've worked, though, has been sold out, so it's still very, very popular.
It's still so popular, yeah. And
Yeah.
But it could be the jaded veteran generation that I live in who are constantly complaining about whatever thing that has happened in the music business. And you're like, that's cool, that's great that you're complaining about this. We hear you, but there's no turning back. Like, you know, there's no stopping the machinery of technology here. So
Yeah.
that could be just who I didn't even totally read into this. I saw the stink. You know what I mean? And I was like,
Yeah, well, what people felt was that they were almost commodifying or commercializing the DIY ethos of a house show. But I feel like the two can coexist. You could still do your house shows if you want, which people do all the time.
Which are the best,
and you could
yeah.
also do so far. Like, it's nice to have unlimited options. I mean, thanks to the internet, there are options on the table for almost everything. If you're not happy with Spotify and you don't feel like you're making enough money for it, just don't put your music on Spotify. You have Bandcamp, which you get to keep like 85 to 90% of all of your payments, which is great.
Yes.
I put my music on everything because I feel like you have to get noticed. Spotify, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, iTunes, which will be gone soon, as I'm sure you heard. Apple's killing off iTunes.
Yes.
But there will still be Bandcamp. There's Amazon. There's all this kind of
Do you
stuff.
do SoundCloud? Do you do a SoundCloud thing?
I am on
right?
SoundCloud,
Yeah,
yes. In fact, most of my remix work is mostly concentrated on SoundCloud now. Because for remixes, I think it's a little more tricky with Spotify because you have to make sure that the other artist is down for it. With Spotify, it's really important that you credit everyone so that if the track gets a lot of streams, you want to make sure that the original artist who you remix is also getting those streams and not just you as the remixer.
So that's where you're putting your focus on the SoundCloud. Yeah, SoundCloud seems like a whole world where I think my SoundCloud thing, like if you checked out my SoundCloud, I was in a songwriting write a song once a week and put it on this SoundCloud page. We'll share it and listen to it. So it's like demos of me like fucking around on an acoustic guitar. I'm like, what the hell is that? I know SoundCloud has a whole thing. I always joke the SoundCloud rapper, who I think are the OG punk rockers right now. Like,
The
this
SoundCloud
younger
rapper,
generation.
the SoundCloud rapper aesthetic has become like a big business. I mean, so many of these rappers that are dominating now. You have like Post Malone. You have rest in peace XXX Temptation, or however you pronounce it, Tentacion.
Yep.
They all started
Lil
off.
Xan.
Yeah, they all
Macklemore.
started off on SoundCloud doing their thing. And once they got big, they kept that identity of like, yeah, I'm a SoundCloud rapper. People checked out my stuff organically on SoundCloud. It's like almost like the closest thing you're going to get to face-to-face interaction, but on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
That's funny.
SoundCloud rap has almost become its own genre.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Although it often crosses over with mumble rap, which is, I know, very big now.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
Very similar aesthetic, and
Yeah, it's usually like Lil something, and then they have face tattoos, and they have grills, and whatever.
yeah. Yes, I even worked with a rapper named Young Lil Child. And
So he did both. Young.
he was like trying to mock the whole thing. It was cool and it was good. And now they're in college and they've dropped that moniker, and I'm like, I don't know. I think you should have hold on to that. I think this is a good thing. Like, I don't know. You're going to your real name now. I don't know. I think you had a thing.
Yeah. The only rapper I know that uses his full name is Kendrick Lamar. I mean that
His
I can
government
name.
name. His God-given.
Yeah, his birth name, what appears on his birth certificate.
Yes, that's right.
Is the only rapper I can name off the top of my head. I'm sure more will come to me. That does not have a stage name, unless you count his nicknames like K. Dot and Kung Fu Kenny and things like that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of rappers, not all, but a lot of rappers have variations on their name, like 50 Cent will be 50 Cent or just 50 or 5C or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's Jay-Z has an infinite number of them.
Yeah, Jay, Hova, stuff like that. Shout out to him becoming hip hop's first billionaire, by the way.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
That's super cool. Is he cool to you?
Yeah. I mean, even though I might not appear,
Is Kanye cool to you?
Kanye, I don't want to get too much into because he has said some things that, a lot of people are sort of on the fence about, like, yeah, I don't really know if you should have said that. But I really do like his work. Like, I think he's a great producer, a great rapper, a great beat maker. I mean, even though it might not look like it, I'm actually really into hip-hop, particularly 90s hip-hop as well. I just love the beat, the poetry that comes with it. One of my favorite rappers is Nas, who
Nas is
a
the
lot of
best.
people call the king of
welcome
New
to
York.
Queens.
Yeah, Queensbridge, which is not too far
We're
away.
not too far from there, yes.
Yeah, I love Nas. I love particularly
one of my favorites.
the lyrical flow. He just is able to do all this stuff that intertwines, like we said before, high culture and low culture. He's talking about coming from the streets, but he phrases it in a way that it sounds so poetic and articulate. And he's able to do this stuff in one take. I mean, do you know the song NY State of Mind? I'm not going to say New York State of Mind. That's the Billy Joel song, but NY State of
Yes.
Mind. if you listen at the beginning, he'll be like, I don't know how to start this shit. And then he does the verse. Apparently he did it all in one take. And then from what I heard from like a source, someone was in the studio with him. He did the verse in one take after saying, I don't know how to start this shit. The mic goes off and he's like, how was that? And everyone just had their jaws dropped in the booth. And they're like, yeah, I think that's a take.
I think that's a take.
Yeah.
He's overall flow, like feel, time, groove, lyrics. He's very, very, very high. Even though Jay-Z said he's leading the league in 6 statistical categories. And I give the hottest interviews. But like Nas is come on. I mean, bro, you're speaking my language right now.
Yeah.
Like, you're impressive knowledge. Impressive. You're an audiophile, clearly.
Sure.
You.
Yeah, thank you.
If you go back into the 90s stuff. Because it's like, I think for me, to listen to mumble rap or a SoundCloud rapper, I took the whole of December. I took 2 weeks and I told cool young cats like yourself, and I said, give me all the shit. You know what I mean? Like this kid just recently is like, you gotta check out Rap Caviar on the playlist. You check out that playlist?
Oh yeah, Caviar. That's like, if you want to make it
everybody
as a
knows
rapper,
I learned this like 2 weeks ago.
if you want to make it as a rapper, like
that's where
in
you
this
live.
day and age, Caviar is like the crown jewel. If you've made it onto Caviar as a rapper, it's like being any artist and making it onto the Billboard charts. But this is specific for rap. It's similar with in the dance music world in EDM. If you make it onto the Mint playlist,
The Mint? I'm
that
gonna write this down.
shows that you
Write it in paper.
really had a successful achievement in dance. Mint for
Is it like MNT or is it
MINT for dance music, and then Caviar for rap. And then for rock, you have like Rock This. And then indie, I follow. There's a lot of indie playlists because indie does so well on Spotify. But a big one is Undercurrents.
You're so hip, bro. Look at me.
Or Pollen. That's another really popular one.
Undercurrents.
Yeah.
That's like who are groups on that?
So you have like a lot of these particularly female-fronted indie artists these days that are really
cool.
blowing up in New York and beyond. Like you have Charlie Bliss, you have Soccer Mommy, Snail Mail, groups like that that have a similar sound and a similar vibe, but have able to really found an audience doing what they're doing. And they really embrace the girl next door or guy next door, whoever it is, kind of aesthetic. They're not really showy or flashy. They just get on stage and they play their songs, and people really, really like them.
That's great. Not a huge production, not a huge show.
Yeah. It's really about the music and like getting back down to the bare bones of like, these are the songs, this is what they sound like live, I'm going to play them, thanks for coming, which is what So Far is all about as well.
Yes.
Even
do
though
you
So
do
Far,
an acoustic thing?
I used to actually. I used to be yet another one of those sad white boys with a
I
guitar.
feel like when I met you
Yeah.
excuse me, that's what you were doing.
Yeah, when I think we first met in like 2013, and I was doing a lot of stuff just solo guitar, solo piano.
Yeah.
It wasn't until shortly after that that I incorporated the full band and more electronic sound. So I want to work out some sort of stripped down setting that I could do at a So Far show where I have the electronics and I have the band vibe, but it is much more dialed down and it is meant to be more intimate. So that's in the works right now. So when that comes into fruition, I'll let you know. I'm working on it now.
Would you play guitar or would you play piano or just sing?
I might just sing. I mean, a lot of my stuff now is keytar oriented. Like I play keytar a lot live. That's become one of my signatures. And that's more meant for synth leads. Like I'll sing a verse, I'll sing a chorus, and then I'll have
Shred.
the chorus or just a solo shredding on the keytar, which is what I do with parties. But I also sometimes have songs where the keytar will follow the melody of the chorus and just reinforce it. So I might not play the keytar, but I might have like a little Novation tiny little keyboard thing that I just play leads on and have the track or a band member do the rest.
Great. And finally, I apologize. And if you need another seltzer, let me know.
Oh,
I'm
no, this is
pounding
still
these
half
seltzers. Okay, good. Good. I'm a little dehydrated. I'm like, I need to just liquefy myself here.
Yeah.
So, we're 50 minutes in now. I feel like we should have hit this earlier, but talk to me about these lyrics in Party. Like, parties. Talk to me about them.
There's an interesting backstory with Parties, actually, because I started writing the song during my junior year of Bard when I fell off a razor scooter and broke 6 bones in my foot and had to get extensive surgery to get it fixed. And when I was in the... Should I let you finish?
Six bones in your foot?
Yeah. I fell off, and
How,
it was
like just fell, or were you trying to jump a fucking 12-foot wall? Like,
I wish it was something that cool. No, it was. I was going down a hill, and the hill was very gradual, and then all of a sudden,
Gets super steep.
it gets super steep, and the concrete on the road gets really sort of fragment. It's like a bad road. You know what I mean? It's not very well paved, and so I flew up in the air at like I'd say I was going 30 miles an hour or so, and landed right on my left foot.
Oh my god, bro!
Right from there, I was like, oh my god, this is really bad. And a car saw me driving past, and they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, not really. So they called EMS, and I got shipped to the emergency room. And interestingly enough, they only found at this upstate, sort of casual, in the middle of nowhere upstate clinic.
Small town hospital,
Yeah, they only, that's a great way of describing it, small town hospital. They only found like one broken bone and a slight sprain. And my parents came up and they're like, let's get you checked out by this. My mom's a doctor as well. She knows this foot surgeon who specializes in just feet at the Hospital for Special Surgery right here in New York. And we took a more detailed x-ray and MRI, and they're like, yeah, it's actually 6 bones, and you've crushed some like nerve endings as well.
Oh my god, dude, this is making me very uncomfortable. Holy fuck,
If you want,
dude.
we could change the subject.
No. This is great for the story, but that you must have been in fucking absolute agony.
Oh yeah, it was so bad. And here's the thing, I'm allergic to aspirin, so I can't just pop an aspirin, and I could only take Tylenol, but Tylenol's not strong enough. And we didn't want to put me on Percocet until after the surgery.
Yeah.
And when I was on Percocet, we tried to get me off as fast as possible, because if you stay on it too long, you start to get hooked on it. But going back to parties, where that came from is
Holy fuck.
I went back to college, and I was in a cast. I was on crutches. I was on
This
like
is your junior year, spring
my
semester?
junior year of fall semester, actually.
semester.
Even harder because we're going into the winter when it's even harder to get
Yep.
around. And I was thinking about all my friends, how they could go to parties with such ease, because that's what most people want to do in college more than anything else, is just party and get drunk and get high and things like that.
That's like Thursday to like Saturday night.
Thursday to like Sunday late afternoon, really. And I technically could go to these parties, but I couldn't stay for long because I had to rest and elevate my foot. And the rule is you have to elevate it above your heart, which means you have to be on your back and your foot has to be raised in the air. So I couldn't really go to a lot of parties. And then this line just came to me, look at everybody dancing at the parties, they're drinking and they're taking lots of drugs. And from there, I turned that into a song. And the song has actually been in the works since then, which was like 4 years ago.
That's
it's
amazing.
the longest I've ever worked on a song. I'm finally glad to release it. And
That's so exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good for you for like reopening sessions. I like start a session and they'll never open it again. So
yeah,
good.
no, this is one. I've actually been playing this song live for about 2 or 3 years now, but I haven't released a studio version of it until now. But that's where it comes from, is I wanted to capture in the chorus the feeling of like a raging college party. Look at everybody raging at the parties. But in the verse, it's a little more introspective of like, I want to go party, but I can't. There's that line, my doctor
told me
says that I
it's
can't
not
get
good
drunk.
for me, yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't drink alcohol when you're trying to recover from a serious injury. And also there's the element of social anxiety as well, which a lot of people experience in college. They want to go out to a party. It feels like what they have to do. There's social pressure. And what if you go alone? Like, what if there's no one there you know? Are you going to feel comfortable? Are you going to do what you're supposed to do at a party, which is have a good time? Or are you going to be anxious and stand in the corner?
Yeah.
For me, both. It really depends on the party I'm going to, the mood I'm in, the night it is.
There's so many elements to it.
Yeah. So that's where parties came about. And, I'm glad I have the opportunity to share this. I know you know Kyle Duke. I know that.
Yes, Kyle Duke. Let's talk about Kyle Duke. I know that you guys know each other.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, I'm not sure if you know this, but he was the co-producer on Parties.
Amazing.
And he also mixed the track.
Beautiful.
And I actually found out about this very podcast because I heard that Kyle was on it.
Yeah.
I know Kyle because he went to NYU, and I didn't go to NYU, but I took a summer class there. I had a teacher who said to me, let me connect you with this guy, Kyle, because I think you'd be a really good fit, the two of you.
Who was the teacher?
His name's Mike Errico. And
Okay,
he
I was
teaches,
hoping you were going to say Mark Plotkin.
No, but I know the name,
Yeah.
Mark Plotkin. But Mike Errico teaches songwriting. He also teaches music business, and
I know this name, but I don't know this cat.
Yeah, he got me connected with Kyle, and we just worked on parties. And it was his idea to add like the heavy guitars and things like that because that's
Yeah.
what Kyle does.
That's what Kyle does. Yeah.
And from there, it turned into much more rock oriented. But I think that it turned out very well. So, Kyle, if you're listening, thanks for your help with this track. Paul thanks you as well, and thank you, Kyle, as well for telling me about this podcast because now I'm on it.
Yes, it's such a small.
It's a very small world. I think I saw you for the first time in a few years at a gig that Kyle was playing at Bowery Electric.
You were there?
Because you were playing with Pete Francis
Yeah.
right after Kyle.
Yes.
So, yeah, the New York scene, as big as it is, it's still very small.
As my friend Chris Anderson said, who has been on this podcast, if you can't find 6 names in common, then you're probably not hip. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, sure.
6. He has some quote like that. Like, if you're not rubbing shoulders, like we're all kind of in the same room. You know what I mean? Like, and this, in a weird way, it kind of all comes back like the community in Westchester. You know, the music schools. Did you go to any of the schools?
Yeah, I went to Huff Barthelson, which is in Scarsdale,
Yeah,
which
it's
is
like-
much more classical and jazz oriented.
Yes, I'm sure that you can name a couple of the teacher and like you're like, oh, well, it like plugs
Yeah.
you into the network. You're kind of, you're from the.
Sure.
You're
And yeah,
from
and
the
I
world.
met you for the first time because Carl, who I mentioned before, you were playing guitar in his rock project.
Fucking awesome band.
Yeah, Nordic Fury. Shout out to Nordic
shout out
Fury.
to Nordic
and
Fury.
there were some gigs where the keyboard player, Soph, couldn't make it. So Carl was like to me, I know you play keyboard. Want to play with us?
Yeah.
And so we actually wound up playing some gigs together. I think you remember. We were in Jersey,
Mm-hmm.
in Connecticut, I think. And that's how we got to know each other. And then I found out a few years later, you also know Kyle. And I'm like, wow, it's such a small world.
It's such a small world.
Yeah.
Kyle's an absolute gem of a human and an
Yes.
amazing musician. He's a cat.
Yeah, he's in like
a dude.
3 or 4 bands now, I think. One of them, which is playing a massive festival in September. I forget what the festival's name is, but Slipknot are the headliners.
That's
so
awesome.
It's epic.
He talked about that band, and I checked them out.
They're called Broken Love.
Yes,
Which I thought they
Broken
were
Love.
called Brooklyn Love because it's BRKN.
yes.
If there was an L in there, it would be Brooklyn Love, but it's Broken Love.
Broken Love. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's totally stoking on that project right now. Like,
Yeah.
they're-
I've heard
they're
their
doing
stuff.
good.
It's really amazing.
That's so rad. It's such a small little world. That's cool. So that's Kyle on guitar on the track.
Yes, it is. He's playing
gosh.
the. Well, I'm actually playing the rhythm section because I had the chord progression in mind already.
Mm-hmm.
But he had the idea. It was his idea to add those leads, like da 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 da, da following the vocal melody.
Yeah.
And then he wanted to get some. He described it as like an Iron Maiden type sound, where he adds another harmony layer to the guitar, and then a third harmony layer, and then at the very end, there's 4 lead guitar harmony layers, and that was all Kyle's idea.
That's
We
so
recorded
Iron
that-
Maiden. That's awesome.
We recorded that right at his house in Connecticut and just went very well. And then we mixed it at his place in Brooklyn and
the Bushwick
yeah.
spot.
Yeah.
That he talked about on this podcast, which I was like, he's a cat. He's the future. He's you and him. I mean, you guys are you're leading the charge. You're cool. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to.
That's so cool. Mm-hmm. And that is so you're fully healed in the foot. Look,
Oh, yeah, totally.
I have a podiatrist on Dr. Mermelstein is a dear friend of mine, so I'm into foot doctors. Is
Yeah.
your foot totally recovered?
It is. No, my mom found me, thanks to her doctor connections, one of the best foot surgeons in the world. And my foot, I still, during the changing of the seasons, like if it gets hot or it gets cold, I'll feel it a little bit. It'll just feel a little tender, sore.
God damn.
But it's fully healed. I could walk really with no problems. I wear orthotics just to be safe. But I can walk just fine. And the only real indication that I've had a broken foot are the scars from the surgery.
Mama Lucicia, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, also
God.
the miracle of modern medicine.
At least
They
it gave
also
us this amazing song.
They also took some stem cells from my hip and placed them into my foot to help the bones grow. So again, the miracle of modern medicine
Amazing.
really helped.
And so you're a college kid. I just have to ask: were you intoxicated at the time of the accident?
I was not. I was just really terrible at riding razor scooters. In fact, I bought the razor scooter that day and
Oh
broke
my
my foot that
God!
night. What it was, my thinking was like, this is such a spread out campus, bars in the middle of nowhere.
I'm getting a razor.
Yeah, I mean, I already had a bike the previous year, but like my cymbals, the bike got stolen. Oh. Kind of my fault because I forgot to lock it. Someone
Yeah.
took it. But then I figured a Razor scooter's cheaper to buy. It's easier to store. It could get me around almost as fast. Why not go for a Razor scooter? So I, because everyone does it, I took a picture of Facebook with me and the Razor scooter being like, look what I got. And then one of my friends saw it and he was just like one broken foot later. He wasn't predicting it because it had already happened, but I just think it was ironic that like he was the first comment on that post because it was within like 2 hours of getting the scooter that I broke my foot off it. So
this
wild.
story is getting more and more tragic. Yeah, this is like
Yeah, and
you
the real
bought a new thing, you're psyched up, you're psyching, you're going for a cruise, you're ripping. Next thing you know, you can't fucking walk for 3 months. Like,
yeah, no,
goddamn,
the
dude.
real kicker is to get around faster than crutches, they gave me another scooter. You know those knee scooters that you sometimes see people riding around on? I think it's just really ironic that a scooter injury led to me being on another scooter.
Yeah.
And that very scooter that my foot broke on, we have this like black box theater up at Bard called the Old Gym, which was an old gym. Someone needed to borrow that very scooter. One of my friends borrowed it for a prop for a show she was putting on. And I think to this day, that very scooter still lives in the Old Gym Theater.
That's awesome.
So it has a lot of history to it.
It's like a relic of the Bard
Yeah.
mythology here. Mm-hmm. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to harp on your injury. When I was in college, I got a razor clamp shook right up in between my big toe and my index finger.
Oh, man. Oh, God.
Right? And so I'm like, I don't know, I'm probably 21. And I think it led to this life of impaired foot. Like I have plantar fasciitis. I have all of the foot problems. Like, so this is why I have a personal relationship with my podiatrist. I'm like, Dr. Mermelstein. He's like, hello, Paul. Like, he plays tennis. I see him in the park and he's like, I would almost call him a friend now. You know what I mean? Like,
you
I
could hit
know
him
him
up for coffee or whatever.
so well. Yeah. I was like, hey, should we hang? And I like in geeky, because I'm into foot health because I have to be because of whatever has happened and I'm dealing with plantar fasciitis. I follow all these geeky foot Instagram pages like Caught in the Gate and like I'm just generally into foot health. Do you know this book called Born to Run by Christopher McDougall?
I don't, actually. Named after the Springsteen song, I
You
assume?
would assume his book came after that, but it talks about, it got me very inspired to be kind of just, it was in the paleo movement and Sex at Dawn. It's like we're returning to our ancestral self. Like, why the fuck do you have all this padding on your foot? Why are you wearing this Nike Air Pegasus? You see it. It's super in vogue right now. You were probably just in Manhattan or Brooklyn and women with chunky white sneakers on. Like, what the hell is all that shit? You have like the most brilliantly designed foot when you're wearing all this shit on it. So, breaking your, it's like, I have this like just sympathy pain because I know it just destroys your soul.
It's very I was in a rut for a lot of it because I took walking for granted, and then to not be able to walk for like a quarter of a year is really it was 4 months actually. It was longer than that. Wait, is 4 months a quarter of a year? 4 times 3 is 12?
3 would be a quarter, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
so it
I
was
get
about
you.
4 months.
A long time.
I
Yeah.
had to have 3 surgeries in total to fix it.
Good God,
'Cause
my
they
man!
had to put the hardware in, then one piece
Oh
of hardware
my-
had to come out, which required surgery, and then the rest of the hardware had to come out, which required more surgery. And here's the real, no pun intended, kicker, is after I was fully healed, I had like just become healed, and then my dad slips on a patch of wet grass and breaks his ankle. And he sees the same foot doctor, and I think we jokingly asked him, can we get a family discount? And he would say, that's not the way I operate. Again, no pun intended, not the way I operate. But yeah, he then felt the pain of like, ankle, foot, lower extremity, not being able to walk. It's really crushing. So I appreciate every day being able to use both my legs, both my feet.
Good God! Yeah. I have 2 friends recently. 2 friends. One friend I would play hoops with and another friend I see in the gym. So they're healthy, athletic, mid to late 30s, right? Maybe one is even in his 40s. So you wait for this. Hear me now, Andrew.
All right.
Something happens that a lot of people apparently just their Achilles wasn't made right, or it's a lemon and they blow an Achilles.
Really?
And so, and my first friend, I was like, no, it happened in the winter. It's dark. He's like still dark about it. He's like, this has been the hardest year of my life. I can't walk. Ruined me. This happens to another friend, the other friend, 2 weeks before his wedding.
Oh my God.
And just walking. Like, now I have this irrational fear. Well, it's completely rational. But do I have a bum Achilles? Am I going to be, like, I don't know. I'm going to be 42 years old and, like, step weirdly at the beach and then bust my, like, so the foot, it's like, because I already have this weird pre-obsession with, like, foot health, I'm like, what? Who just has bum Achilles? Like, this is like the curse, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm just really glad that I was never like a real hardcore soccer player or anything like that, or a ballet dancer or anything. Because I asked the doctor, will I be able to walk normally again, this and that, and he said, yeah, but if you were a ballerina or a soccer player,
career's
this
over.
would have killed your career. And I was like, oh man, even though I was already terrible at soccer, although. Interestingly enough, I'm really not athletic at all, but if there's anything I'm good at in terms of sports, it's running. I'm a good long distance runner.
I believe it. I would believe that you're a good runner.
Yeah, but I was fortunately able to
Were you on the cross-country team?
I wasn't, but I feel like I should have been because maybe college advantages. But if there was one sport I could have been good at in high school, it would have been cross-country or track.
Yeah.
Didn't go out for it, though, because I chose the more artsy route. I was in the drama club. I was in the jazz band. I was in the wind ensemble, things like that. But I'm really fortunate that I am able to run with really no problems. I run quite a bit, mostly to catch the subway, but...
So you don't just free run?
Well, sometimes if I feel like I have extra pent-up energy, I'll just... why walk to a place when you could jog? That kind of stuff. I
love this. Yeah.
So I'm really glad that I'm able to do that. Because if I had seen the surgeon up at Bard who wasn't as recommended and wasn't as professional, the one who thought I only had one broken bone, I probably still, to this day, would have had problems with the foot.
No, this is going into the bank here because, like, someday if something happens, I'm going to be like, Andrew, give me this doctor's name.
Yeah.
Like, tell me their name. I even want to just know who they are so I can, like, check them out. This is how geeky I'm into foot health.
His name is Dr. Jonathan DeLand, and he's an orthopedic surgeon at the hospital for special surgery on the east side of Manhattan.
It's like the hospital that's in the 60s or 50s?
Yeah, New York Hospital.
Yeah. I was just there. I gave blood last Thursday. My scar is gone, but
yeah,
that is quite the facility.
Oh, yeah. Very, very high tech.
Very high. You're like, this is amazing here. This is crazy. Mm-hmm. Dang. So what else? What is the future? You alluded to it for a little bit, but you have some more singles coming out. You have a ballad, which is exciting. Oh, here's what I want to talk to you about the ballad.
Sure.
Your grandmother. Brilliant. I agree. You get one ballad per set. I think that. But the power of the ballad, magic.
Oh, absolutely.
You can overtake a room. You can change a room. You can bring a room together.
Yeah.
It's like a very overlooked, well, we call it like dirge music, I believe, because like, as someone on my podcast, Brian Coyasa was talking about, like, who the fuck thought like Billie Jean would be a better song taking the drums out? Like, come on, no, it's a dance song. We need drums, right?
Someone tried to take the drums out of Billie Jean.
Oh, you know who it is. It became viral, but it's like, no, we need that. But there are certain tracks, ballads. It can change the energy in a space. Sure. I think I'm the number one like person who's like, let's just fucking crush them. We're gonna play from like 98 to fucking 160 all night, destroy. But like, I'm learning the power of the ballad. So your grandmother is completely onto something. Yeah,
if there's anyone who's been a real big influence and supporter, it is my grandmother. She is a retired actress and also singer. She has done it professionally in her life. So she really knows about the performance world, and she really knows what makes or breaks a good performance. And from seeing my act, she, even in her old age now, still comes to a lot of my shows, which I very much appreciate.
How old is she?
I can't say on the podcast. I really can't tell you. But I will say that she's up there.
Young.
But, yeah. But she really is good at critiquing a performance and giving me constructive criticism. And one of the big things she was telling me was have a ballad in your set, even if it's just one, even if it becomes more energetic at the end, which a lot of ballads do. Mm-hmm. Bring it down for a little bit and have the audience be drawn in rather than blasting them out the door.
It's so true. She's so right.
Yeah. So as a result, I've written one, and I'm hoping to release it sometime soon.
Like, that's the possible fall
Possible.
release?
I mean, I have another track I'm working on that actually has a featured rapper guy I also met through the NYU program named Siege Spitfire.
Siege
Awesome
Spitfire,
name. His
yeah.
real name is CJ, but he goes by Siege in his rap. And
So does he change it as C-E-E-G-E-E-J?
no, it's S-I-E. It's S-I-E-G-E.
S-I-E-G-E.
Siege Spitfire. Yep. If you're listening, Siege, what up? And
I gotta like see it in my head. Yeah.
I have this other song I'm working on that is rock oriented, but it's probably rhythm wise one of the more hip hoppy kind of tracks I've done. So of course I'm singing it, but I just thought when making it, you know what, for this like 25-30 seconds, I should just have another guy come on and spit flames for 30 seconds and just rap the crap out of this song. And so Mike Errico once again contacted me with Siege, and he laid down this verse, and it was fire. So I'm really looking forward to releasing that track, hopefully in the fall as well.
So what are your summer plans?
What are my
Musically, your own thing? You go on vacation? You go...
I mean, summer, I'm just trying to develop more, write more songs, play more gigs, work on more remixes. The Drowning Odds project might even have an original come out under that name, which might be a collaboration with another DJ or a singer, which I think would be cool. It actually, I'm glad I could mention this, the next remix I'm coming out with is a Carl Ulner track with his sister. He has the Corel and Exogeny project. And they had a song last year that managed to crack, I think, the Billboard Top 50, Top 40, which was awesome.
That's awesome.
And I'm remixing that track now, and it should be out within the next few weeks. So I'm really
So
looking forward to
cool.
that. And then I also have a show I'm prepping for at Brooklyn Bazaar on July 2nd. So if you don't happen to be away for July 4th weekend, you know, that's going to be cool. Do you know Brooklyn Bazaar? It's in Greenpoint.
I do know that spot.
It's an awesome spot.
And I love that neighborhood.
And I don't know if you know, I feel like being in New York, you would be familiar with this band called Shinobi Ninja. Do you know them?
I see their goddamn sticker
Oh,
everywhere,
yeah, they're
bro.
everywhere.
They're the master
Everywhere you go.
guerrilla marketing band.
You see, well, that band is not headlining, but I got the lead singer of the band, Shinobi Ninja, Duke Sims. He's going to be doing his solo project, and he's headlining the show. And then I have other two rock bands also playing on the bill, and it should be a really good night.
That's great. And you set up the whole night.
I did, yeah. I contacted the bands I just know from seeing their shows or just being in the scene. And I thought, like, these bands would be great on the show. Because the show's also going to double as another release party. Because it's going to be shortly after I put out the party's music video, which just got finished. And I think the music video is really what's going to sell the track more.
Oh, that's great. You are a crusher, bro. You are a crusher.
You got to be in a city like this. It's very competitive.
It's the most
sink or
competitive,
swim.
yes.
So I'm really getting out there and doing what I can.
Do you have merch?
I have stickers and I have buttons. I'm working on getting t-shirts.
Buttons like are pins.
Pins, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Eventually I want to get, I think this is good for my brand, is custom stress balls. Like a stress ball with my face on it. If you squeeze it, it might distort my face a little bit. I know people who are doing a lot of weird merch things that are so essential to their brand, but I don't know too many people doing stress balls. So I think I might try that next.
I think it's brilliant. I think you should do it. I think it's all about weird merch. And like, you know, it's one word. Fair. It's a cool word. It looks cool. T-shirts. I would wear a T-shirt.
Yeah, and with Drowning Odds, I'm also trying to do some merch because for that, I also have a mask I put on that one of my friends made, which is sort of like a robot type persona, almost like a dystopian style Daft Punk mask. And that is pretty easy to do merch with because it's so like distinct. It doesn't look like anything else. With that, you could do like maybe little action figures or little bobbleheads or something.
Yeah, that'd
so
be
I might
slick.
try that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Dang. You're straight hustling. You're everywhere.
Yeah,
Making
and I want
podcasts.
to be even more places.
What about a tour?
Yeah, I mean, I toured in 2017. It was a regional tour. It took me from Washington, D.C. up to Boston and all the cities in between, Jersey, Philly, Connecticut, New York, of course. I'd love to do another tour probably next summer. I have to plan it a lot, but I know summer is the best time to tour because you don't have to deal with as shitty weather. What I'd really love to do is tour with another band, do like a split tour. So I'll probably try to get that going. I'd also love to go overseas and try to play some shows there. It's a lot easier to tour in Europe than in America if you think about it, because the whole continent of Europe is like the size of America, and you could hit so many different countries and markets in the same amount of time. So who knows?
And they are very wonderful and treat musicians wonderfully.
Awesome.
So I've talked about it extensively on this podcast, so I don't need to bore my listeners. But once you tour in Europe once, just close all your date book for your national U.S. tour until you're at a certain level because it's.
You never want to leave?
No. Here's a bed. Here's some food. Here's some money. You're like, wait, excuse me? You play a club in Memphis. They're like, yeah, here's a beer and $100. You're like, thanks. And you like talking to the crowd like, hey, so, we're looking to crash tonight. Can anybody let us crash? You're sick of sleeping in the van. Do it. Go right to Europe. I think that's brilliant. I tell that to everybody. Like, why waste your time? Go right to Europe.
The hardest part is just getting there, but once you're there, it seems much easier, I'm sure.
Oh, it's easy to get there, too. You can get there. Did you do a semester abroad or?
No, I wanted to, but I couldn't because of the foot. I was that semester I was planning like, okay, next semester I'm going to find an abroad program. All of my friends have gone abroad. They said it's been awesome. Then the foot happened. It's going to be pretty freaking difficult to get around Europe with a broken foot.
Yeah, that would
especially because most people ride their bikes.
Yep.
So it'd be tough.
That's all right. I went to my first college just on the idea that I could go abroad, and then I ended up transferring and never went abroad. So,
did you not start out at Purchase?
I started out at a school in Western New York called SUNY Fredonia.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, which has this literally. So my teacher was Dr. Pierkowski, and then there was this. Like when we were talking about it, he was of the school and hung with the cats and like his boys with Pure Boulez, and Pure Boulez is coming to the school and speaking and all this atonal stuff, and it was so militant about it. And at the time, I was like, dude, this is not me. I can't do this. I was like freaking out. But I look retrospectively back and like this pushed my bounds of what music could be. Exactly what you said. It opened my dome to music in a whole different way. And now like I crave that information, crave that music, crave checking that out, because I was exposed to it. So
yeah, I just love to find stuff that's truly in a league of its own and different. I mean, of course, you have the very satisfying pop hooks, which I love to listen to as well. But I also love discovering music that has its own thing going on. It doesn't sound like anything else.
Yeah.
And a way to really find that is to scour the internet, but also, if you're in New York, try to go to as many shows as possible. There's over 100 shows every night. If you can make it to one a few times a week, you'll be pleasantly surprised in what you can find.
No, it's the best. It's a pain in the ass getting there. It's a pain in the ass getting out. But as soon as you get to the show, you're like psyched. You're like, yes, I'm so happy. There's a show Friday night. My friend is doing a pedal steel, a whole 2 days of like 6 hours of nothing but pedal steel players.
Oh, wow. That's
right?
awesome.
And I'm like, I have the night off. He's flying in from New Mexico. I'm like, I have to go to this, but it's in Red Hook.
Red Hook. Oh, I think I might be working a silent disco in Red Hook sometime soon.
Yeah,
or is that Bay Ridge? It's somewhere in South Brooklyn.
Somewhere that's a pain in the ass to get to from a story where I'm like, oh my
train
God.
that goes there.
Yeah, and you're like, it's going to take me an hour and a half to get home.
Yeah.
2 hours to get.
Yeah, and the only way to get there is you have to go into Manhattan, only you have to go back out and go to Brooklyn.
Yeah, but I know the instant I heard some like real beautiful, real schooled pedal steel album, my heart will melt into a million pieces of hot chocolate. So that's great. That's great. You're out, you're hustling in so many, I'm inspired.
Thank you. I'm inspired by what you do, too. I loved your show at Garcia's the other week. I came to see you in your various bands, and that was really great.
The highlight of the night was seeing you, Carell, Melissa, and Thomas's face.
Scarsdale crew.
Scarsdale crew. It's so cool that you guys are still buddies and like hang. And every one of you guys is like just a crusher, just totally destroying life right now.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I should have mentioned Melissa made the Draniod's mask, actually. She's a professional makeup and costume designer.
So she's working kind of in that industry full-time now?
Yeah, and she's also designed a lot of my album covers. So, and if you see a lot of my promo photos, she's taken those.
I just liked an Instagram picture. I was like, this is fucking so rad.
Yeah, Melissa took that.
That's so cool.
Yeah, a lot of my friends are doing really, really amazing things, so I'm very proud to
So
call
you guys
myself
all
their friend.
you all went your own ways, too, for like the 4 years, but now you're still like kind of chilling, so that's rad.
Yeah, I mean, they're up in Westchester a lot more than I am. I'm down in the city a lot more, but, we're talking almost every day. We're online, we're chatting on Facebook, we're working in various places. We go to see shows together, and Yeah, it's going very well.
No, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Like
I love
I
these
knew
long
that
time
you
friendships.
guys, yeah, like exactly. You have all this history, and like, right when I put my phone into airplane mode, a friend from one of my besties from high school called me up, and we still talk. And it's like all that history. It's such a beautiful thing. Like you can instantly talk about, your 4-year-old bathroom humor, or you know,
Sure.
into like, you remember this?
Yeah, no, I wish I could say that I was still in touch with people I knew from elementary or preschool. It's not the case, unfortunately. I have a friend from college who has the same group. It's like a group of 5 guys, and they've all been friends with each other since they were 1 year old in diapers. I can't say the same about my friends, but still, since high
Is he
school...
from a small town?
No, he's from the city. He's from New York.
Wild.
Yeah,
that's wild.
They all grew up in the same apartment building. That's why, and they all had dads
that's
who were
cool.
all friends with each other.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I can say that since high school, I've been tight with a lot of these Scarsdale guys, and even after high school is when we really solidified the friendships more. Because once you get out of high school, it becomes much more of an effort to see people, and we really were able to. So they've been with me through it all. When I broke my foot. They were with me when I took my first edible, so they've been with me throughout a lot of things. So, yeah. Thanks, guys.
Do you like edibles?
Every so often, I tend to move sort of uncontrollably when I have one, so...
Yeah, they don't really work with my operating system, so I'm like, why do I feel horrible?
Yeah,
So
no, if I'm gonna take one, it has to be a very, very, almost microscopic dose.
and a very particular situation where
That's right.
if I needed to boot, I could boot immediately. You
Yeah.
know, like this is out of control. Like why?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
So much weed in the spring. You walk around New York, I'm just like, everybody is blazing chronic like every second of every. I was just like, what? This is everywhere.
It's
This is-
nuts. My sister just moved into an apartment in Crown Heights, and her neighbors smoke indoors all day, every day. Like,
Oh, my God.
It says no smoking in the building. There's even a sign, and they're just out in the hallway on the staircase smoking, like, like they don't care. And I guess the landlord is like whatever too, because they've been doing it for a while, according to my sister,
That's
and no
amazing.
one's really said anything. So.
So she's out of college. She's on her own.
Yeah, she's 2 years younger than me. She just graduated from Oberlin. She actually now works for Mayor de Blasio.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Good for her.
So, yeah, she's crushing it too.
That is
in
crushing.
the New York scene, but it's the political scene, so it's a little different.
Yes.
But she gets to go to all these cool events and parades. She'll be marching in the Pride Parade with de Blasio. She was at like some... I don't know what event it was, but there were bagpipes. So it was really cool.
That's just cool.
Yeah.
Yes. I've been lucky enough to. I've shaken his hand once, and I got to be at a party he was at one time, and his whole like security detail was there.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And they're like, oh, de Blasio is coming. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's super tall.
Yeah, I heard. It's like 6'6" or something.
He's like crazy tall. You're
Yeah.
like, hello, giant. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Good for your sister. That's great.
Thank you.
And he just announced his run for presidency.
Yeah, let's see what happens with
Let's
that.
see
I
what
mean,
happens
we have
with that.
like 20-something people announced as like Democratic candidates,
Yes,
so
it's
we'll
getting-
have to see.
Yes, the news is going to be exciting this coming year.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else we should talk about the future before we just blast these people into outer space with stuck in a video game?
I mean, I feel like I've said a bunch. I guess I'll ask if you have any questions for me. Do you have any more questions? Anything specific or general, anything really at all that you want to ask me that you want to know?
You're a fascinating cat, man. You're doing it all.
Thank
You're
you.
doing it all. How do you keep your energy up then for doing all of the things that you do? Are you one of these cats? What you just described to me, I'm like, this dude sleeps 5 hours at night. Do you sleep 5 hours?
No, I sleep a lot, actually. That's the thing. Someone actually asked me the other day the same question, like, where do you get your energy from? I'm actually not that energetic when I'm not around other people who seem equally energetic. Like, you're a very energetic guy, and I could really bounce off you as
feeding the
well.
energy
So,
to each other, yeah.
if I'm with someone who's very tame and chill, I'll be tame and chill. But if I'm with someone who really gets the energy going, then I'll pump up. But after this, I'm probably just going to crash. No, I sleep. I really do try to make an effort to sleep 8 hours a night or so.
Yeah, me too.
And what the key to it is, I don't work every single day. You know what I mean? I really make an effort to have like at least one day off a week where I do nothing and just sort of hang out and tune out, which I think is it's good. And even when I'm awake every single day, I'm not working the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to keep the balance between business and pleasure.
So what are your pleasure activities?
Honestly, a lot of internet-related stuff, just like scrolling through YouTube, reading new articles, reading Facebook wars in the comments section. That could be pretty entertaining.
It's very entertaining.
And then, of course, I'll often just jam out by myself or with friends on an instrument. I love doing that. Exploring new restaurants. There's too many to choose from in New York. Going for walks. I walked across the Brooklyn Bridge last week just for fun. I happened to be semi-close to the area, so I did it.
That's rad. What's your favorite restaurant in New York?
Oh, God. I don't know if I could possibly choose.
At the time, if you had to one, then you're like, you know where you gotta go?
Yeah, let me think. I mean, Jesus, that's such a hard question because you could spend like 50 years in New York and not eat at the same restaurant twice. It's crazy. But there's this really amazing soup dumpling place down in Chinatown that I really got. Unfortunately, the name is slipping my mind right now, but it's really, if you like
Rough address.
Mott Street near the Canal Street station.
Oh. So it's a real spot.
It's like the.
It's not like a bougie new spot.
No. It's like real, authentic soup dumplings and Chinese food. I know it's real because they have shit that most Americans just won't eat, like
Wouldn't even look
fried
at.
frog, fried chicken legs, or something like that.
Yeah.
But they have really great food that I would happily eat, like soup dumplings.
That's
chow
like
mein,
your
things
secret
like that.
spot. You're like, I'm in the hood. I know where I'm gonna go.
Well, I don't think it's secret because I've gone there about 2 or 3 times, and every single time it's been packed, and there's always been at least a 10-minute wait.
But
it's worth it.
Chinese places are always so fast. So like, get in, get out, eat. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool because you're totally right. When I'm in different neighborhoods, in different places of New York, I know like kind of what spot I want to go to, or like I'm 10 minutes from this Bombay sandwich. I'm going to go get the French lentil bowl or whatever. Yeah. That's great. So you sleep 8 hours. You
Or
answered the
so.
question because like.
Well, the other thing I do, I wouldn't say I sleep 8 hours regularly. This is sort of a weird thing with me is I have a very irregular sleep schedule. And then there are some nights where I'll only get like, at most, like you said, 5 hours of sleep. But then to make up for it the next night, I'll sleep 10 hours. It's like rather than a consistent 8 hours, even though I do try to hit that minimum, it's usually I don't get much sleep one night, and I really don't make a habit of going many nights with very little sleep. It's like one night of little sleep is okay, and then I can make up for it the next day. I also don't try to drink that much coffee because it's bad for your teeth, another vital bone in your body.
Yes.
And it also makes me a little too anxious and jittery, so I try to avoid it unless I really, really need it.
Do you drink tea?
I do drink more tea than
Green
coffee.
tea?
Yeah, green tea, black tea, but I think that I just drink a lot of water as well. I think that's what keeps me energized and hydrated. So it's like DJ Khaled said, water is the key to success.
DJ Khaled said that?
Oh, yeah. If you've ever followed him on Snapchat, you see he's always talking about the food he's eating. It's like he has the same thing for breakfast every day. Egg whites, turkey bacon, hash browns. And then he's like, and the key to success, water.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, he's a ridiculous human being. It's difficult for me to really take him seriously. I'm like, who is this motherfucker? Like,
Yeah, I met him actually at a meet and greet.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was super cool. The only thing was, the only way to possibly get in was to show proof to the security guards that you pre-ordered his album. But I figured it's $10, it's DJ Khaled, it'll be fun. So I got to meet him, I got a picture with him, and yeah, he was very chill in person. He didn't say any of his catchphrases or anything. But you were in line and you greeted him on a red carpet, and he was sitting on his throne with a lion statue next to him. And it was very in and out. You were allowed to get one picture with him, and then you had to scram. The only way you could really stick around is if you bought a t-shirt, but it was worth it to just get that one picture with him and to shake his hand.
Yeah, that's rad.
And I'm sure he was tired of hearing this, but a lot of people were coming up to him and saying phrases that he says every day that I'm sure he might be sick of in
He
private,
probably
like,
only
we
hears
the
that, yeah.
best, DJ Khaled, another one. I said that all to him, and he just nods, and he's like, yep. So
he's just like a normal chill dude, but he plays a character on Snapchat, YouTube,
yeah,
whatever.
he seems really chill in person. He's also shorter in person, you might not believe. He's like really short.
Is he really short?
Yeah, he's like...
Because he's so thick, I guess. So you're like, he's a NFL like offensive lineman sized human or something.
Yeah.
He does look gigantic. Yeah.
Yeah, he's short,
Well, that's interesting.
but he's cool.
He is cool.
Yeah.
Good. Well, dang, ladies and gentlemen, Feyer, check it out. Feyer. What's your Insta handle and all that kind of stuff?
So it's at Feyer Music, Feyer, music spelled like music, MUSIC. No periods, no spaces, no dashes, none of that stuff, just Feyer Music. And then I also have the Draniod's Instagram, which also pumped up just recently, DRANIODS. that's where you could find me online.
Guys, thank you, Andrew. Thank you for coming and taking the time to hang out with me and being a part of it. I got stickers. Look at that.
Oh,
You
hell
put the
yeah.
secret.
Secret, there we
Take
go.
1 million of them. Anyway, cats, check it out. Stuck in a Video Game. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Paul, for having me.
I upload my skills, then I see that I'm not skilled enough to be where I want to be. I need agility, high speed, and a remedy for if I lose all my lives. It will mean I can't play anymore. Stuck in a video game, stuck in a video game. Let me out, I'm going insane. Stuck in a video game, stuck in a video game. Don't have the codes, don't know how to play. If we go into space, we will find out what we look like from way up above our heads. They said that we might just get there someday, but for now we are still on Earth, encased in the TV screen. Stuck in a video game, stuck in a video game. Let me out, I'm going insane. Stuck in a video game, stuck in a video game. Don't have the codes, don't know how to play. I sit on my moves through the day, play for a new high score. There's more levels left to go. I know it will take a while to reach it. Getting it ain't as easy as it seems. Is life just all about leveling up? Stuck in a video game, stuck in a video game. Let me out, I'm going insane. Stuck in a video game, stuck in a video game. Don't have the codes, don't know how to play. Stuck in a video game, stuck in a video game. Let me out, let me out, let me out. Let me out, let me out, let me out. Let me out, let me out, let me out, let me out. I'm going insane.
Isn't he a gem, y'all? Isn't he a damn gem? Andrew Feyer. Thanks, y'all, so much for listening to Secret Famous. Thank you to Andrew for coming out. Thank you to y'all for, as always, keeping the fire burning. Have the best damn time this summer and bump that track all summer long.